But where I think it differs is not many of these people that do my job do the shooting part. They stay in the house, they stay out of the way. They've got nothing to do with dogs. In the sporting aspect, I've done sort of all sorts of it.
Yeah. But where did your interest or passion for shooting come from? I mean, was that working for some families who like shooting, or did you get into it because they used to do that?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Tweedl Podcast. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Rob Fennick. And once again, if you can hear loads of banging in the background, that is Rob Fennick, again, making more money than I could ever dream of.
No, it's just
35p.
It's a radio we just play, so it sounds impressive. That's all it is. Charlie says you can't hear it in the background, but welcome, everyone.
Yeah, we're back at EJ Churchills. And we are joined today by a gun dog extraordinaire, shall we call him?
Wow.
Well, there you go.
Is he next?
It must be.
Who's this one?
Yeah.
You know, Instagram famous James Harding. Welcome, mate.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for coming on.
No worries.
How you doing, Jimbo?
I'm very well, thanks, Rob.
Good. Nice to
I was
see
just
you.
seeing how amazing Churchills has grown the last 4 or 5 years.
Keeps growing, mate. Keeps growing. You
Yeah.
haven't been here for a few years, have you?
I haven't, no. Last time I dropped off, just before I left a job, I dropped off some gun slips. And I'm wondering if they're still in the gun room.
They probably will be.
They probably are.
In store.
Yeah.
In store.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, so you've come from Norfolk, mate. Good little journey for you. Thanks for coming.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
And tell us a little bit how it all started. For anyone that doesn't know, honestly, mate.
Charlie,
What are we going to do with this, mate?
professionals here, and you're just causing carnage in the background.
You probably can't hear that, but he's just popped open a can of pop. And,
all over him.
Yeah, gone all over him. Well, I'll tell you what, let's start off with Rob. How do you know James? And James, how do you know Rob?
Go on, you go first.
I'll go first. I think I first met you at Gunnerside.
Yep, on the grouse moor.
So we're just touching on it now. I used to be
What a terrible place to meet, by the way.
I used to be a like a modern day butler.
Okay.
So I was, if you've ever watched Downton Abbey, I was Bates, Barrow, Patmore, Carson, all rolled into one. So I did everything for this lovely family that were based in Hampshire. He was really into his shooting. And we ended up going to Gunnerside through Churchills. And I think we met at Constable Burton.
We did. James literally would do everything, so he was a star, and he would. But as he said, with that modern day butler world, you know, he would look after everything, the house and various things, and the family. Yeah. But then he'd come up on the grouse moor or the game
organise the shoot days.
Well, sort of, and go and load as well, because he loved shooting.
Yeah.
You know, so James.
So when you weren't there, I would load.
You would, yeah, absolutely.
Then after I'd given you a few lessons, you used to
then James trained me basically.
Which is why he's so good at shooting.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating job, mate.
I carried the guns. He carried the cartridges.
Especially up hills. But where I think it differs is not many of these people that do my job do the shooting part. They stay in the house, they stay out of the way. They've got nothing to do with dogs. So I got to go to some fantastic places from, well, with Churchills, we went to Alnwick Castle, Gunnerside. Where else did we go? Stunning places.
Fackham, used to go there. He used to go
Fackham, I used to go stalking with a previous employer. I used to go fishing on the Test when I was down at Broadlands.
Not a bad life being a butler, is
Incredible life,
Yeah.
Just dribbling in.
From the sporting aspect, I've done sort of all sorts of it.
Yeah. But where did your interest or passion for shooting come from? I mean, was that working for some families who like shooting, or did you get into it because they used to do that?
Grandpa used to shoot.
Yeah.
Mum used to pick up.
Yeah.
So Mum still picks up with a team of 8 dogs. But I always used to go on Grandpa's syndicate, which Northampton, but never really to shoot. I was just watching.
Yeah.
And my older brother would always shoot if there was a sort of a chance to shoot. But I never really got to go at 8, 9, whatever it is, 10, being handed a 12 bore with a 30-gram cartridge. And I thought,
that'll learn you.
Not really for me. So probably in my life, I've only ever shot on shoots 4 times.
But you found
to this day.
Still to this day. One this year I went as a guest, and probably 3 as Beater's days. I just take dogs and shoots.
Because
what's it like being asked to go as a guest? Because Rob asked me about 3 years ago. It's just never happened. What's it like that?
Well, you'll never be asked at Churchills.
No.
That is quite funny for you.
Yeah.
Should we move swiftly on? So tell us what. But you've always loved working dogs. I didn't realise your mum did a lot of picking up.
Yeah, Mum still does.
Is that where the love for dogs came from.
Yeah, I think so. And I didn't really have my first dog till, I don't know, I was probably early 20s when I had my own dog. And that's not since so my background originally was hotels and catering, so hospitality. And I worked in some lovely hotels up and down the country. But I couldn't really have a dog because I was always at work.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't till I became a butler I got my first, so I left a hotel on a Friday. I applied for a job on, I applied for the job on Friday, got the interview on Monday, started on Wednesday.
Good grief.
On a week's trial for this lovely guy in Wiltshire, really into his shooting, nice country estate. And I was there for a week, which turned into a month extension. Then I was there 3.5 years. But I had my first dog with him. And as soon as I got my dog, he thought, well, I'm going to get a dog as well. So he had a couple of dogs. So I always looked after dogs on the estates that I worked at.
Right. And did you train the dogs on the estate as well when you were the butler,
to some
or did
extent.
you not have time?
My dogs, yes.
Yeah.
The dogs originally were sort of terriers and things, so like an Airedale.
Yeah.
You know, the old-fashioned police dogs.
Yeah.
Untrainable.
Yes.
But later on, when the chap that you know, he had a couple of labs which I used to train up and things. Yeah.
And did you? And so, talk us about this whole training of dogs. So you then were a butler, and then you have a massive U-turn. You decided you're going to come out of that, and you're going to set up your own kennels. And
well, I've always thought that's what I'd like to do.
Right, that's always been a goal, has it?
Always been a dream,
Yeah.
and it's always been my wife's dream to work with dogs as well. So I've always done lessons, and people would come over and sort of say, "How do I do this?" and things. And being on these lovely estates was perfect for dog training and having people to quietly come in and have these lessons. And it sort of just grew from there. And I thought one day, well, this is what I'd like to do full time.
And so what's your business called for everyone that doesn't know?
Rivigans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah. Rivigans Gun Dogs.
We'll link it below so you can check it out.
Good man. It's quite hard to pronounce. It's got a double G in it. And for a dyslexic to spell, it's probably meant to be something completely different. But that's how it ended up.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And you're a fantastic trainer. So James has trained my Labrador.
Right.
And she is, and she's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant. And
she is.
And I have literally tried to ruin her, but she is.
You gave it a good go.
I've given it a good go, but even I can't ruin her.
No, good.
But James, I think what's really good is I've had dogs trained at various places over many years. This one comes back, and some of them come back, and they sort of lose their personality.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they sort of come back carrying. This one has got abundance of a personality.
Yeah.
And still has the obedience and everything else. I just sent it to James to have the basics in her, because I don't always take a dog shooting. I'd love to, but I never really go away all the time or away for a long period in the cars and everything like that, going from car to car to car. So I don't always, but she's had the basics, and she's Fergie, and she's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been really impressed. And what's your secret with that? Is that something you've set out to do? I mean, have you seen other people doing things and think do you do it in a different way, or?
Well, I think when I first got into dogs, I've probably been to sort of 10, 12 other people for lessons and group lessons with various people. And I've sort of taken the bits that I like. But going back to what you just said, I think that's a very old school approach. You take a dog, it's like someone joining the cadets in America, you know, the military sort of style. You beat them down, build them back up again. These modern day dogs are so clever. You just don't need to do that. Sure, every dog needs to do it slightly differently, and even dogs from the same litter are going to be different. But you don't have to be hard on these dogs.
No.
It's the tiniest of corrections. If they don't do it, telling them off isn't going to achieve anything.
Yeah.
You just make it simpler. Make it simpler, get them doing it, then make it harder, and build on that. But it's definitely from a sort of definitely a soft approach. I have my wife would cuddle dogs all day if she could.
Well, that's it.
Well, she does.
I've had a Labrador in my life since I was 6 months old. So mum and dad went and picked up their first Labrador, and obviously mine when I was 6 months old. Jet, she was called. And then we've had Molly and Bo, and then me and my partner have had litters. We've had 3 litters. We 2 Labradors of our own. Evie, my fiance, has this most loving approach of just talking to the dogs like humans all the time, and the intelligence in our dogs because of that. They've never been laid a finger on, never been raised a hand. But I never forget, Molly, the first dog we had, was sent away to a dog trainer. Won't name any names. And she came back the complete opposite.
Right.
It was like she'd been in solitary confinement, and she just was like almost scared of humans.
Right.
Genuine,
Yeah.
you know. And I always thought since that day, like, but you bastard, you know, how could you even? Because it's almost like you're telling the dog to do something, it's not doing it, so beat it until it does it. I don't know if that's what he was doing, but it must have been the logic, and it is the logic of some dog trainers, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
Sadly,
still today. Yeah.
yeah.
I had a
But-
guy come for a lesson last summer with a young dog, and he'd been somewhere else, and they'd got out the car in the middle of nowhere, and the guy got out the back with the old-fashioned blue hose pipe. The guy was like, "What are you doing with that?" And he goes, "Well, if it does something wrong, we're just going to give it a..." The guy got straight back in the car and went home. You know, it's just barbaric and pointless.
Yeah.
It's,
But you're right, they are just so intelligent, aren't they?
especially these labs, even more so with the
Yes.
spaniels.
What is Labradors must be your favourite dog to
Yeah,
train.
I've got loads of labs.
Yeah.
We've got
How
a
many are we
small lab.
talking?
10 plus, let's call it that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably near. So I've got a sort of a range of dogs. I'll sort of start with. We've got a German Shepherd Malir cross,
Yeah.
who I found during lockdown,
Which-
post lockdown.
Which he said pre-hand, he has to get up early to feed it because no one else will, because they're all scared the hell out of it. That's right, isn't it?
He sleeps opposite the puppy wing we have. They've got 2 whelping
So is
cabins.
he on guard?
He's a very nice chap, but he doesn't like people being there, and he'll only bark if there's someone new there. Doesn't make a noise otherwise. He's as good as gold, but if someone was to be around, I'd just open his kennel,
And he would...
and
yeah.
everyone locally knows we've got him.
And
he's,
when you say you found him in lockdown, what do you mean by found him?
one of these strange websites, and I was after a certain look. I
Just
wanted
be
a
careful
dog,
when you say things like that to Sam. He thinks different things to
Oh,
what you're meaning.
especially with dogs and dogging. Yeah,
I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but do you know what I mean?
Doginsights.com.
No, I found him on something like dogs for homes or pets that need a home. And I was after a certain look, a dog that said to me, "Don't mess with me," but I didn't want any security training.
Yeah.
I just wanted a blank canvas. He was 9 months old. He was in just the other side of the Humber Bridge, just up into Yorkshire. And I went to see him. He was in this small one up, one down. The lady warned me when I went in, said he'll growl, and the last lady that had been to see him had left in tears. So as I opened the door,
With one arm.
he lunged at me as I went in. I sort of just pushed him to the side of my leg, and I just walked in, and he just came and stood and just looked at me, and I thought instantly, this is the sort of dog I'm after. And I looked round, and the sofa had been chewed. There was a poo in the corner. He'd been sick in that corner. He'd chewed the wall. It was just nothing.
God.
And this lady stood there tapping away on her phone. Goes, yeah, he's a lovely dog. But if you get him in the car, you can have him. So took him for a little walk. He pulled me like a steam train, like he'd never been on a lead. And I got back in there eventually, and I sort of rang my wife out of breath. She goes, "What have you been doing?" I said, "Just trying to walk this bloody dog. It's just pulling me at full speed." Got back in the house, and I said, when's this dog last been out for a walk? Oh, I think about 3 weeks ago. And I thought, oh, Christ.
Oh.
So got him in the car, took him home, gave him a massive run around. Different dog. Just a different dog.
Why did
And
someone
he's
like
just-
that have that dog in the first place?
Because they look good. You know, they were really trendy at the time. Even the police have gone off Mali's. They've gone back to Shepherds.
Have they?
Just because they don't have the handlers.
So we were running a charity shoot up in Yorkshire a few weeks ago, and at the end of the charity shoot, this policeman turned up, and I thought he was going to say something about the noise or something, because it's a beautiful part of the world where we were. And he said, hope you don't mind me coming to see you. And literally at the end, he goes, we've been training police dogs. And he said, and one's run off. And they were about 2 mile away, and this
Malinois,
Malinois, you call it. And so this Malinois, I said, what is this? A Malinois? I was like, oh, right. I said, they're quite dangerous, aren't they? And he said, well, they'll only be dangerous if you run away from it. Yeah. And I was like, if you see this blooming great bear coming towards you, the instant reaction is going to be to run. And he did look nervous, I have to admit. And I thought, I'm not surprised, because he'd lost this Malinois. And he was going, if anybody see, so I rang the keepers and told all the keepers on the estate we were, but I'm guessing he found it. But yeah, this thing he said they'd never lost one before, and he was really nervous that this thing had shot off, as I guess you would be. But they're rare bits of kit, aren't they?
Well, you see them on YouTube. Google YouTube. You see them jumping off roofs and
Yeah, I know the dog you're on about. The ones that sort of weave in between your legs and stuff.
Yeah.
You train them to do that.
Yeah. Serious dogs. We're talking about running. One of the estates I worked at, the guy had a whole load of shepherds, and you'd clock off at 11 o'clock at night, and you'd drive through the estate, and then he'd appear for a hedge with his dog or 5, and they'd sit there like robots.
German shepherds.
And I was chatting away to him one day, and I said, "What do you do if someone stops running and you're sending the dog?" And he chuckled and he says, "Well, I've just trained my dog to just stand and stare at the crutch." So if a guy runs at you, you've got to have some balls to stop.
Yeah.
But if the dog stands there and snarls at
Your midriff,
you're going to stand still, aren't you? So,
God, you're bloody right. You are.
Jeekers.
Fine. So you've got, but your red Labradors are your thing, aren't they?
Well,
that
I've
be
got
fair?
more black than
Have
reds.
you?
Yeah,
But
so I've got
because you were
black.
breeding a lot of red Labradors.
My red lab is a stud, although he's just retired.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just speaking to someone who knows Jin.
Yeah.
So Jin actually was one of the chaps I worked for, a dog that I'd found, this chap that Rob knows. And he said to me one day, "I'd like a red lab. Find me one." So I phoned around, and eventually I spoke to Charlie Forbin up at Mordor Gun Dogs, found this red lab, went to see him, picked him up, brought him back, looked after him for 6 years. And then when I left this job, I didn't really have anyone to look after the dog. So he came with me. So he's still with me. But no, I think I've got more black than red.
Okay. And do you train spaniels as well?
Mostly I train labs and spaniels.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the HPRs, the Vizslers and the pointers. Not my cup of tea. So predominantly we're lab people, but we do spaniels.
So how many of your own have you got then?
Oh,
we
sorry.
set off with the
All right,
the Malir.
I've got a Coon Hound.
A what?
The tree-walking Coon Hound. So this is my wife's dog.
Okay.
She got back from America. Have you ever seen The Fox and the Hound?
Yes.
So the hound in that is probably a Coon Hound. They use them as they sound for raccoons. You're looking at me strangely.
No, it's just interesting.
You literally
Raccoons are quite a problem in Norfolk.
yeah, literally.
Well-
Overrun with them.
someone in the next village uses his as tracking over the marsh. So someone goes missing, you send out the coon hounds. Whereas if you imagine a hedge, a spaniel goes in and out the hedge, pointer goes up and down the hedge, seeing what's in it with his nose. The coon hound's half a field away. Yeah, he's in the hedge. They've got such good nose. So I've got a coon hound as well, retired spaniel, and then just labs. So I've got a sort of team of. I think last season I sort of on average took about 10 dogs out with me picking up, with the back seats down in the car.
That's impressive, isn't it? I love that. When you're on a day shooting and you see some really good dogs, it's cool, isn't it?
Well, what's really cool, I like your videos. James does these videos on Instagram where he sits about 15 dogs there. And he's obviously behind the camera, and the camera's on them, and he calls one by name, all 15. Yeah. Not one of them move until it's their name to be called. As soon as their name's called, off they go, just like that.
Yeah.
I love those. I mean, you've done a few of them, and I could just watch it over and over and over again.
And you pan the camera around, and me and Rob are going, "Get back,
yeah.
blowing our whistles.
Yeah.
Woo! Come here.
But I sent him my dog. I mean, Fergie came to you. She was 9 months old.
I was going to say she's under a year, wasn't she?
She was under a year,
Yeah.
no, 9 months. And I spent no time on her. I mean, I was absolutely a terrible dad. She's a beautiful dog. She was absolutely loved her, but nothing. She couldn't walk to heel, couldn't do anything. I sent it to you, and you had her for
5-6 weeks, was it? Was it that?
Is that ill?
I think maybe 2 months.
I can't remember
Was it
now,
maybe
it's
that sort of time,
yeah.
wasn't it? Maybe 2
Yeah.
months, something like that. And literally, I went to get her. She came back. She walked to heel. She was absolutely, but walked here without the lead. I mean, literally, I put on the lead now. She's as good as gold. She walked to heel, picks up, and she was just fantastic. She's getting that sort of idea. But I only wanted the basics into her. I didn't want to train her into an amazing gun dog. But yeah, it's quite remarkable.
Yeah.
What you can achieve. Yeah.
And what's the approach then with a dog like that? For anyone listening with a young dog now, what's the approach when you get a young dog? How do you instill the basics straight away?
A lot of it's just time.
Yeah.
And putting some time into it. It is concentrating on the basics. So in a small area, we tend not to use food. We use food for sort of puppies, just as that incentive to get them back to us or get them into position. It's just time and it's more technique, isn't it, than anything.
Do you believe in working on them early? I mean, there's all this sort of discussion that some people said you should leave them for a year.
No. So my 8-week-old puppies, I can almost get to walk to heel because every time I feed them, we walk around and I'm shaking the bowl. I've got them to my side. I'm starting to use my whistle already. They're whistling to sit. They'll sit. Give them a biscuit.
Brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, and why not do it?
Yeah.
But, you see some wonderful videos of some people doing it. These puppies doing amazing things because they're capable. And if you've got them doing it early, they've got that. It's ingrained. It's their natural position.
I remember
I had someone pick up a puppy yesterday, and I pretended to get something out of my pocket, and this dog came round, sat next to me, and just looked up. And I was smugly looking. I developed this smug look, I think, when I was a butler, of when someone asked you a question, and you had it, and it was sort of, just like a nod. Someone goes, "James, have you got?"
It's a great look, isn't it?
Which was tested on many a grouse moor and strange shoots. And in fact, the first time we went to Gunnerside, one of the guests had set off to do something beforehand. Then Constable Burton to Gunnerside's 45 minutes over the moors, and he'd gone off to do something, and he was going to meet us there. And we're driving into the yard, and I can see this guy come, and he's got a smile on his face, and I thought, he's forgotten his guns, hasn't he? And he came up to the window. He goes, "Guess what I've done?" And I went, "Forgotten your guns?" Yes, I forgot. And the guy was working with, "Oh my God, have we got some guns?" Like, yeah. And he goes, "But I shoot 20 bore."
You were just lucky your boss shot 20 balls. That's all I know.
No, I had a spare pair.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and a spare pair of 12s. Yeah.
That's a man who knows his job.
Man knows his job, mate.
Yeah.
So, is going back to the dogs then, is it about how much of it is the breeding and how much of it is the training? I mean, if I gave you a badly bred dog with not a very good line and you had loads of time to spend on it, could you make it amazing?
Yeah.
Or, or to be really good, do they need to come from amazing breeding? I'm talking really good.
I think if you had a dog that had just a plain pedigree, just everyday dogs that had been mated over the years, would take time. Some of them have natural abilities, but I think when you're talking these really ultra bred dogs, it's almost starting on an unfair advantage because it's just in there. So one of our stud dogs, Poirot, he's insanely well bred, and his puppies are just so clever.
Yeah.
They just Poirot would stand at 4 months, and he'd be looking for something, and he'd just stop and look at me, and I'd do that, and he'd go off and look without even teaching him to do it. He's stopping and looking, and some dogs take months to sort of stop what they're doing and look at the handler for help, and it's just amazing.
It's lovely to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, so Russell, my dog now, his dad is really good pedigree. And he sired our bitch, and we had a litter off him, and he was sort of Russell was one out of the litter, and he had what you're talking about, he just had it. And I've never had that with a dog, but from day dot, he just had it in his eye. He knew exactly what I wanted him to do, and he knew what he wanted to do. And that's breeding. 100% that's breeding.
And do you train them up and sell them when they're older, or are you all puppies now?
We do a bit of both. So it's more sort of terms of space, but predominantly we sort of sell them. We do 9 weeks, not 8 weeks, just to give them that extra week with us, so they're a bit more, a bit larger in size. They've got the bladder capacity to hold, overnight, rather than going to their new homes and not quite being ready.
That's interesting, isn't it? I mean,
it's little things like that.
Little things like that make such a difference.
Yeah, but then our puppies are house sort of toilet trained by 4 weeks. So we've built this wonderful purpose-built cabin with everything you could possibly imagine that you'd have in the home, from an Alexa playing classical music, heated.
Arga.
It's not far off, actually.
Underfloor heating.
Yeah, and we went to see a litter, and in the corner she had this litter tray of like a builder's tray, grass nuts, and then astroturf, and all the puppies were going over and doing the business on the thing. I thought, I'm going to steal that idea. And at 4 weeks, these puppies are just walking around, and they go from one end, and so by sort of end of 4 weeks, 95% of wheats and poos are all done in grass and on this astroturf.
Amazing.
Brilliant, isn't it?
So the last set of litter, I haven't heard any. I think I've heard one accident, and that's probably because they hadn't let it out quick enough.
Right.
But it's little things like that I think we put in extra, and the time that we spent, and the breeding, and everything. I think personally make our puppies quite special.
That's where you found your little USP, really. Isn't it?
Yeah, and we attract people that want that,
yeah,
which is even better.
And you don't have loads. So I mean, it's
No,
not
no,
as if I could say now, oh, Sam wants a new dog, Charlie wants a new dog. You know, you've got spare.
You'll be on a waiting list,
you're
will you?
literally on a-
We have a waiting list.
and you have
so,
a waiting list for training as well, don't you?
Yeah, so we're looking at sort of December, January now for the next sort of slots that we can fit people in.
And what's your percentage of? Do you spend so much time breeding, training dogs, breeding dogs, and then what about people bringing their dogs, like people, useless people like me who bring their dog, go, it's a wonderful dog, I love her, but I can't do anything with it, I haven't got time to train it, can you please just fix it for me, James? How much of that? Is it sort of 50-50?
Well, I've got my wife, and then I have another lady who pretty much concentrate on the puppies.
Yeah.
And then I concentrate on the training.
Yeah.
So we generally have sort of 4 or 5 dogs in every month.
Yeah.
For the training side, like Fergie was. I think we've had 6 litters in 4 years, so it's not huge quantities of puppies.
Yeah.
We've got waiting lists. Well, we had a litter a few weeks ago, and they.
But
they
all
all
focus on gun dogs, or would you take, somebody came to you and said, can you please, I don't know, would you do it for something
Oh yeah,
else?
for
in the
sure.
gun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
I
say
need my spaniel
probably-
to do a somersault or something like that.
Yeah.
Not quite that, but
Yeah.
I think probably 75% of ours aren't necessarily going to go shooting.
Right.
It's more that sort of element of
Is it?
I need my dog to come back when it's called. I need my dog to walk nicely. It'd be nicer if it was a bit higher on the gun dog front.
Yeah.
But I think the demand where we are is still very much pet dogs that want to be well trained.
Mm.
And the best training for these labs is gun dog training.
Well,
And so you said you had 6 litters in 4 years.
Yeah.
What's your views on price of puppies? Because obviously in COVID that was just this uphill, rise.
Yeah, they got silly, didn't they?
Yeah. What's your view on all of that? Because a lot of them have still sort of kept the prices,
I
haven't
thought
they?
they'd backed off now, have they, or not? Have they?
I think the average sort of price is about sort of 1,500.
Is it?
And I think during COVID they're probably about 3.5.
Yeah.
But if you paid 3.5, then that's
Oof.
your fault.
Yeah, you're a bit of a helmet.
Yeah.
But I think prices of puppies should be high.
But 20 years, I do. I completely agree. But 20 years ago, you could pick up a Labrador for 300 quid.
Yeah, but 20 years ago, that's probably a lot of money.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
300 quid would have been a lot of money
Yeah.
for someone.
Charlie wasn't born.
Yeah.
yeah. Literally.
But if they're too low, anyone can have one.
It's got to be a balance.
I want someone to come to us and say, I'm desperate for a puppy. I want one of your puppies for these reasons. If they were cheap, I've got 500 quid spare, I'll get a dog.
Mm.
They don't give it much thought. I want people to sort of invest, save, because they want a dog.
Yeah.
And what about the price of these top end dogs? I mean, these are unbelievable. Now, I couldn't believe it when somebody was telling me the other day what a fully trained dog fetches. And I know another chap.
Gun dogs.
Gun dogs.
Oh yeah. Well, the working like sheep dogs, 25, 30 grand.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think the most expensive dog was a collie.
Good grief.
but-
More than
Yeah, was
more
that
than a trained
recent?
Labrador?
It hit the
Yeah,
headlines
so last
recently,
year
wasn't
or
it? Yeah.
6 months ago or so. Yeah.
Wow.
But again, if you think a train, a puppy's 1,500, £2,000 or something like that, the time and effort to get it to 18 months, food, bills, training costs,
It's got to.
it's got to be worth doing.
And what are they? What are they? What do you sell a dog for at that level?
If we were selling a dog, say at a year old, so our pups are 2,400, but then we have costs of the dreaded VAT and things like that.
Yeah.
Then we apply a training rate per month. So if you want your dog to stay for 6 months, it's this price. 12 months, it's that price. I can't remember the question now, Rob.
The price of a
fully trained
Yeah,
gun
so-
dog.
trained gun
Yeah,
dog. What
I
would you
think
charge for a
people
year-old or 18-month-old fully trained gun
I
dog?
haven't got that price to hand.
He doesn't need to answer. You're backing him to a
But
corner.
I would expect to pay,
Thought
if
I'd
you
get
want a
him.
really nice gun dog to do everything you want,
Yeah.
I would expect to pay 10 grand plus.
Yeah. That was the figure I would imagine.
Yeah.
You need a padlock for that kennel, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
10 grand, didn't
Or a German Shepherd.
Yeah, or a German
I wanted
Shepherd.
to make me a cup of
Yeah.
tea.
Yeah. My missus at the moment is after a miniature dachshund. Have you seen the prices of them buggers?
Yeah, I bet.
Holy hell.
Well, you
4
You
grand?
don't get much for your money either, do you? Really?
No.
Trip over it more
To
than
do
I'd
what
pet
with
it.
it, though?
They're beautiful, aren't
Yeah.
they? My grandparents used to have them.
Yeah, they are nice. I'll give it that.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Can't do much with them, though.
No,
No.
literally. And are you a big believer in diet? Do you a very
Oh, we
strict
spend
diet?
hours looking at diets of dogs.
Yeah.
Hours and hours, especially when we have other people's dogs come and looking at the different foods and the ingredients of everything. I think that all our puppies are fed on raw.
They
which
are.
I think, and I think if I had the space, I'd probably feed everyone on raw.
Yeah.
Is that game, or do you know what?
It's chicken. It's all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You can literally get pheasant, duck, venison, but the puppies start on it's like a pureed chicken, which is pretty much what Mum would be doing in the wild. She'd go out hunt.
Yeah, of
come
course.
back, there you are.
Yeah.
With that bone and all. But no, we spent hours looking at diets. It's a really important part of the dogs.
And you find that you really focus on that, don't you?
Oh yeah,
That's-
God, yeah.
What do you feed yours out of choice?
We've just changed. So traditionally, you ask 80% of people, they feed Skinners.
Yeah.
And I think a certain generation, everyone feeds Skinners. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
You've got to be Skinners. But now that there is so much choice, it's sort of budget related. We feed a company called Alpha Feeds, which is Lincolnshire based.
Yeah.
Really good food. Dogs look fantastic condition, good constitution. You get a poor diet, and a dog can just go to the loo all day long. So it's an important aspect.
It's quite expensive now, isn't it? I mean, the range of dog food has absolutely rocketed.
Yeah.
We feed ours. A friend of mine has a company called Vet Spec,
and
we feed that one. It's brilliant. It's brilliant food.
like a biscuit.
Yeah, biscuit.
Dry food.
A dry
Yeah.
biscuit. But it's, it's fantastic. It's really good stuff, and the dogs seem to love it. And they look amazing on it.
I'd quite like to feed raw, but it's quite a bit of hassle, isn't it? At the end of
if
the
you
day.
travel a lot, like
You need a
do,
freezer.
and you need a freezer space.
You know, a chest
But they
freezer
say
outside.
I was
deep
talking to a chap who started doing it, and he said it's transformed his dogs.
Yeah. No, I believe it's really good.
But you think these dogs are like athletes, especially the gun dogs. They're quick. They're like endurance athletes. So you've got to feed them correctly. If you feed them nothing, they just waste away.
Yeah.
You look at the modern day athlete and what they do with their diet.
Yeah.
It's probably 50% training, 50% diet, and it's the same with these dogs.
Sam's a modern day athlete, aren't you, mate?
Oh mate, look at me.
Look at you.
Literally, look at me. Fine tuned for the shooting field.
Yeah.
And what about supplements? Because a good friend of mine's in the vitamin space in humans, human vitamins.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people approaching him at the minute about taking it into pet space.
Yeah.
And you look at the market, one of his big products is collagen.
Right.
And pet collagen is now just booming. What do you feed any supplements and stuff?
During the shoot season, I do.
Do
they get I forget what it's called now, flaxseed oil.
Yeah.
And then they get this powder from it's a lovely company up in I think they're Lancashire based, Team Pure Flax. You probably see them on Instagram. They do like a sort of gun dog powder, and it's got like turmeric in it for muscle recovery, and the oil's fantastic for their growth and recovery and calories. But with the new food, I find I just do the food.
Right.
But there's so much out there. Some of the older dogs get can't remember what it's called now, like joint aids.
Yeah.
So which has got sort of green muscle powder in it. It's got chondroitin. I can't remember the other one that you take as well.
Probably a bit of collagen in that, is there?
Possibly.
Not? Yeah.
That's but I can tell when a dog hasn't had it for a couple of days. You can just see them get a bit stiff.
I'm just thinking about what you said about dairy, because no, apart from you poisoning your poor dog, I wait till I see Evie.
Made me look like a rat.
I can't wait. You're going to be on the phone, mate. Evie, stop the dog from drinking the milk.
I'm not, because he's fine.
Stop the dog. But because the latest thing is dog ice cream, isn't it? I've noticed a few key ice cream producers now making dog food, dog ice cream.
Ice cream for a dog isn't the best because it's rapidly cooling dog that relies on its mouth to regulate its temperature. So it's falsely giving it that impression that it's actually cool. The best thing to do is plunge it in some water. If it's a really hot day, take it swimming.
What about Starbucks doing puppuccinos with cream?
You've made that up.
It's not just me.
You have made that up.
You not heard of that?
No.
Yeah.
How much do they charge for that?
Puppuccinos.
Oh, no, it'd be a tenner for a large one, won't it?
Is that actually true?
It's a thing.
Puppuccino.
A puppuccino. It's squirty cream in a cup, and you don't. It's on the menu.
More dairy.
Tell you what.
Yeah.
There's probably no dairy in the cream, though, is
I'm
there?
starting to think James is missing a trick. He needs to start feeding his dog milk.
conversation. Jane's going to speak into his vet later. Right, we need to talk about this. My friend's got a dog. It's built like Schwarzenegger, and he feeds it milk every single day.
Oh God, it made me look like a right plonker.
I did let you finish though before I said anything.
Yeah, you did.
That's really good of you, James.
It's like no.
I love it.
I've got quite a good editor here, but he normally just leaves stuff in because I've said it and I've cocked myself up, won't you, Charlie?
Fantastic. And what's your goals then? We like talking to people about their business aspirations and everything. What's the plan for?
I think the plan's probably to move and find somewhere a bit bigger.
Yeah.
Probably a bit further north.
Are you a sort of capacity at the moment, aren't you?
Lancashire.
Lancashire.
I don't think we're going to expand anymore at the moment, but
Right.
it's just having the option to have more land to be able to do more things.
Yeah.
That's on the cards at the moment.
Because I suppose you can be anywhere, really. People
Yeah,
like I
exactly,
travel, brought my dog to you. You know, you could
Yeah.
be anywhere. People just want to.
Yeah, we had someone down from Aberdeen the other day. We
Yeah.
had someone down from Devon, up from Devon.
Aberdeen.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And how do they hear of you through social media?
I think social media is a brilliant part for us.
But you're mega on. So I mean, you've got
Yeah,
tens of thousands of followers.
100 and something.
128,000, I
Is that
think.
what you've got now?
So it's something silly. Yeah.
That seems to grow by 10,000 a week.
Well, suddenly one of these videos takes off and it has 10 million views, and then you get a small percentage of people following.
Mate,
it.
I'm
Are you
wait-
joking?
No.
10 million views.
Yeah, I've had a strange video of just getting the dogs out, getting in the car, and it had 46 million views.
Holy
And if you
cow.
just film that yourself?
Yeah, so I have a drone. So I do.
You should have met Johnny, who we were with earlier.
Yeah.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, mostly it's just on my phone, or I have a drone. Just bought myself a 360 camera,
Yeah.
just to do something a bit different.
Can you do some Tweedle socials? 10 million views.
Yeah, yeah. We'll do
That's
some.
40-something million.
Slacking the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Charlie, come on. Charlie.
But it's amazing what certain videos draw people to us.
But that's just the
from
love of
all over-
dogs, is it?
yeah.
From around the world.
Yeah,
People,
yeah, we get
everyone
people from
loves
America. In fact, it was just as you come in, I was speaking to someone in India. He's in
Right.
London at the moment. He's going back to India.
dogs. Right.
Yeah, all over really.
I mean, social media is just, we've spoken about this before, isn't it?
Yeah.
It absolutely transform. It gives
Yeah.
you an opportunity to
Yeah.
build a business.
But if no one was watching, I'd probably still do it.
Yeah.
It's purely for my benefit.
Yeah, of
The
course.
music's for my benefit. The videos for my benefit. I just love doing that sort of thing. And if 5 people watched it, I'd
You
still
wouldn't
do
bother,
it.
you'd still do it.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just
you
happens to
get a
be-
bit of business off it.
I think probably 80% of our business comes via social media,
Incredible.
if not more.
How do you vet people when they do that? That must be quite tricky, is it?
We do. So if someone was looking to come for training,
Yeah.
they have to come for an assessment beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have a form to fill in. So some people go, "I'd love to send my dog to you." I said, "Well, fill in the form," and they never do, which is fine. That's one vet. We don't have any dogs that have any aggression in them. They come to Norfolk. We put them through a few simple tests just to see where the dog's at. We then obviously have to put them in 5-6 months later.
Yeah.
And then for the puppies, we do another questionnaire, something different. We'll Google map where they live, make sure that they've got the setup we're after. They've got the enthusiasm that we're after for one of our dogs. We then invite them to Norfolk again, talk them through, but with the stipulation that it's not a yes until we've met you. So we can show them the dogs that if they come up to see a dog from, say, Poirot, and I've got the bitch as well, they can see the offspring of previous litters. But it's we say no to quite a few people.
Do you?
Yeah,
I bet you have to.
yeah. I'd quite happily say no now. Previously, I'd never say no.
Never take everything.
It was quite difficult to learn to say no. But I think certainly my wife would not want anyone to have a dog that she wasn't 100%.
Yeah.
So when you hand that dog after 9 weeks of love and care, it's a happy, there you go, here's your puppy.
Yeah.
Do you ever
Rather
get them
than, oh my
back?
God.
Do you ever get people?
We've had a couple of dogs back.
Yeah.
One I can think of is they just forgot what it was like to have a puppy. Lovely couple, really nice people, just about to retire. They'd had a 16-year-old dog beforehand. So they'd had probably 14 years of bliss of...
Yeah, that's quite a transition.
Suddenly to a puppy that's ready at 6 to go out and he's always busy, it was just too much for them. So we'll always have them back, even if that's a week or if that's a year or if that's 5 years,
Yeah.
we'll always have them back.
Yeah.
And then, funny enough, he arrived 2 weeks later, when I was thinking of advertising, as I thought I'd let him come back, settle back into sort of a calm routine, and this lovely couple came. He was a yellow boy, and they wanted a black girl. And they stood in the courtyard, and I said, "Well, this is one of the puppies we've got at the moment." And the husband was like, "That dog needs a home. That dog," and he said it 3 or 4 times, and eventually he looked at his wife, and I went, "Oh, here we go." And he goes, "I think we might have him as well."
As well?
Yeah. So they're going to have another puppy some 6 months' time.
Gorgeous.
But
Gorgeous.
yeah. So dogs do come back, and I think other breeders are 8 weeks gone. There you go. Take them as quick as possible. I've had enough of them. But if someone wants to take their dog a few weeks later, or they've got a holiday coming up, we'll have them back. It's an important sort of aftercare service.
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic what he's doing. And,
Amazing.
But trading
I'm a big
tips
fan.
as well. I think if you have one of our puppies, you're not just having a puppy. You're getting tips, advice. We'll answer any questions you have.
Yeah.
Veterinary questions. If they're not vet required. Sort of tips and things. It's a sort of I've just done a lovely card that says "Welcome to the family," because you become a really good family. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice.
Good for you.
And Rob mentioned before about the Fox Red stuff. That's like burst onto the scene, hasn't it?
Well, I
10
think
years ago? What is the actual origin story of Fox
Well, they're
Reds?
just yellow labs that are redder and redder.
Really?
Yeah. I don't think they've been crossed with anything like these modern silver labs you see.
Yeah, that's...
But I think their favour is coming out. I think.
Do you?
Yeah. I think we're certainly seeing a return to black.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that as well.
Yeah.
They are attractive, though.
A
They are.
chocolate
Oh, they're
labs.
lovely looking
A
dogs.
chocolate lab's still you don't see many now.
You don't see many working chocolates.
No.
There are a few about. My
Right.
mum's got one, but then
Right.
that came for training.
Right.
So it's been a very good dog. In fact, one of my stud dogs has got a lovely chocolate. Coming to see it shortly.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what they produce,
Well,
because you're mixing it with a very well bred dog with it's got working background, sort of 3 or 4 generations prior. So it'll be interesting to see. But going back to your question of reds, if you go to a shoot last couple of years, probably 40-50% of the labs there are red. Even the Prime Minister's got a red lab now.
is he?
Yeah, Sunak. But of our recent inquiries, I'd say 90% are back-to-back,
Yeah.
which is great because I like black labs.
Yeah.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
I'm a black lab
Yeah.
man. You're a black
Yeah.
lab man.
Yeah.
I have had
It's
yellow
traditional,
labs.
isn't it?
Have
I
you?
had yellow labs, yeah. I had a couple
I like
of
a
yellow
yellow
labs.
lab.
Yeah, I love a yellow lab. Yeah.
From a photographer's point of view, a yellow lab's quite easy to, and reds are quite good to take photos of.
Remember,
Yeah.
I've got 2 young girls as well, so from a yellow lab, it's like the Andrex puppy, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I
when they're
suppose.
younger, they're all cute, aren't they, when
Yeah.
they're younger?
Yeah.
But, oh my God, those little yellow lab puppies are
Yeah.
just adorable.
Which is why I like to see people, future customers, before puppies arrive.
Yeah.
Because then when they meet older dogs, you can see what they're like. As soon as you've got a litter of puppies and you go, well, come and have a look. You're not on the list yet, but as soon as you hand them a puppy, you're like, oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
They're not going to be like that all their lives.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, top.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you very much, James.
Pleasure.
It's been
Thank you for
really
having
good
me.
to
It was a
talk
really
to
good
you.
insight, yeah.
Yeah, real fascinating, man. Good luck with everything.
Thanks
I think
so
you're a
much.
star, and hope it all goes very well.
Look forward to having your next dog.
Yeah,
And if
we'll
anyone's
go.
got a place for him up north that's a bit bigger, a few more
Oh,
kennels,
yeah, give us a
bit
shout.
of ground,
Yeah,
he's in the
Yeah,
market.
about 20 acres would be nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might get a free gun dog out of it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Not too much of the.
Right, it depends if they're suitable to own one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks James for coming on. Don't forget to like and subscribe. New episodes every Sunday if we can keep up, Rob.
We're trying. We're trying.
But yeah, thanks for watching everybody. We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.